Hello viewers and welcome back to Fafana Maths class. Today we are going to look at angles, and then we will start with the introduction of angles. Then we look at the types of angle that we have, and then we will tackle one or two questions that has to do with angles. All right, now the first thing that we have to look at is the definition of an angle. All right, when we say an angle, what does it mean? All right, assuming that I have a line here. Now this line will not have any angle until I draw another line to meet it. Okay, so when I have another angle which will meet this first angle, so we have like line 1 and then like line 2. So now line 1 is the initial line, and then line 2 was also drawn to meet line 1 at this point. Okay, so whilst they are meeting, they also form certain angles. Okay, so we have, say, angle A, B, C, and angle D over here. Okay, so the definition of an angle is when two lines meet, an angle is what is formed. So you can say in other words that angles are formed when two lines meet. So it will be angles are formed when two lines meet. So when two lines meet, angle is what is formed. Now let's look at how we measure angles. Okay, now assuming we have this Cartesian plane. Okay, Cartesian plane, on the Cartesian plane we have from here the positive x-axis, negative x-axis, and then we have the y-axis also. So this is the y-axis and this is the x-axis. Now this is where we measure the angle from the positive x-axis to the left hand side. We measure from left, which is in other words known as what? Anti-clockwise direction. So we measure angles in anti-clockwise direction. So we start from here. So here at this point the angle is what? Is 0. So you start from there, then you measure till you meet it. Okay, so when you measure the angle from the 0 to the y-axis here, the positive y-axis here, you have 90 degrees. Okay, so that angle is 90 degrees. Okay, so when you start from there too, and then you measure till it reaches here, we have here to what? 180 degrees. And if it continues to this side, we have 270 degrees. And then when it continues back to the 0 point, you will obtain what? 360 degrees. So angle is measured in the anti-clockwise direction. Okay, in anti-clockwise direction, when it gets here at the north, you have what? 90 degrees. When it gets to the west or east, that is the west, right? So when you get to the west, you have what? 180 degrees. When it gets to the south, you have 270 degrees. And then when it gets back to the east again, you have 360 degrees. So this is how the angle is measured, from this direction to this direction to this direction, and then back to this direction. Okay, now angles are measured. The unit for measuring angle, the unit is in what? Degrees. We measure angle in degrees, which is simply what? Which has what? A certain knot or a certain 0 mark on top of the angle. So if the angle is 90, so you write 90 degrees. If it is 80, you write what? 80 degrees, and so on and so forth. Now we will go ahead and look at the types of angles that we have so far as the angles are concerned. Now the first type of angle that we'll be looking at is the acute angle. Now the first angle is the acute angle. Okay, so we are looking at what? The types of angles. The types of angle. Now an acute angle is an angle, so it is an angle less than 90 degrees. Okay, now if you have an angle which is less than 90 degrees, you have an acute angle. So an example is if you have, say, 30 degrees, 45 degrees, 60 degrees, etc, and so on and so forth, then you have an acute angle. So that acute angle is found between the 0 degree column and then what? 90 degrees column. Okay, so any angle that is found in between here, over here, meaning it won't reach to this north pole. Okay, it won't reach to the north, which is the 90 degree, but it will be in between the north pole and then the zero pole, I mean the east pole. All right, so if you have an angle which falls here, you have an acute angle. So when you look at that angle very well, it will look something like this. So this is how the angle will be looking at. So this is the acute angle here. Okay, so now when you look it very well, roughly we know that the 90 degrees line will be here. Okay, this is where the 90 degrees line is supposed to be, but this line is the when you measure the angle from this line to that line, then you have your acute angle. You realize that it doesn't reach the 90 degrees angle, okay, or the 90 degrees point, so it falls in between the 90 degrees and then the 0 degrees line. All right, now the second line that we are going to look at is, or the second angle that we'll be looking at is the obtuse angle. Now obtuse angle is also an angle which is more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. All right, so an obtuse angle is also an angle which is more than what, 180, which is more than 90 degrees but less than 180 degrees. So with that one too, you realize that you will measure that angle from this line and it will exceed the 90 degrees line, but it won't reach the 180 degrees, so it will fall somewhere here. That angle will form what, or will fall somewhere around here. Okay, so when you draw the shape of that angle, it will look something like this. Okay, so you realize this is where the 90 degrees line is supposed to be. Okay, roughly. So the angle moves from here to there. So with this one, you have what, your obtuse angle. You have the obtuse angle here. So it is more than what, 90 degrees but less than 180. So this is where the 180 degrees line is supposed to be, but that line or that angle doesn't reach the 180 degrees point. So that would be for the obtuse angle. Now quickly, let's look at the third type of angle, which is, now the third type is reflex angle. Reflex angle. Now reflex angle is an angle, it is an angle which is what, more than 180 degrees but less than 360 degrees. Okay, so with the reflex angle, you realize it will be what, more than 180 degrees but less than what, 360. So that angle, when you measure it from the zero pole, it will go, but as soon as it exceeds the 180 degrees point, then the reflex angle will be formed. So any angle that will be formed in between the 180 point and then the 360 point is the reflex angle. So that angle will be found over here. So all here you get what, your reflex angle, and then the diagram for that one too will be like this, and then maybe like this or like that or like this or like this. Okay, so this is the 0 point, so the angle will be measured from here till it reaches here, because this is the 180 degrees, this is the 90 degrees point. Okay, or it will continue to reach here, or it will continue to reach here, or it will continue to reach here, but it won't continue to get back to the 0 point. Okay, so it will fall in between the 180 degrees point and the 360 degrees point. All right, so that is it for the types of angle for now. All right, so we have the acute angle, which is less than 90 degrees but it won't reach 90 degrees. Okay, it is always less than 90 degrees, and then the examples are 30 degrees, 45, 60, you have 75, 80 degrees, you could even have 89 degrees. So far as it doesn't reach 90 degrees, it is what, an acute angle, and it is found on the Cartesian plate. It is found in the first quadrant. Okay, it is found in the first quadrant. So we have 4 quadrants here on the Cartesian plane. So the acute angle is found in the first quadrant. Now we also have the obtuse angle. With the obtuse angle, the angle is more than 90 degrees. Okay, it will exceed the 90 degrees point, but it won't reach what, 180, meaning it is what, less than 180. And this is how the diagram will be. This is the 180 degrees point here, this is the 90 degrees point here, but the angle will never get to a 180 degrees point, but it will start from the 0 and then what, end in between the 90 degrees and then 180 degrees. Now the last one, which is the reflex angle, or the reflex angle is also the angle which is more than what, 180 degrees but less than 360. That one too, it will exceed That one, the diagram is here. That one, you measure it to exceed the 180 degrees point, but it will never reach to what? The 360 degrees point, okay? So that one is the reflex angle. So this is the little that we have on the introduction of angles. In my next video, we will be looking at the other types of angle, which is the straight angle and then angle at a point, which is very important or very essential so far as angles are concerned. And then in the previous videos too, or in the subsequent videos too, we'll be looking at more of the types of what the angles. Have a nice day.